I just finished Death Stranding, and I gotta say it's been quite a while since I've been this hyped for a game. And now it's out into the world, it's real, and it's in my hands. Let me sit up real quick. You know, it's still a little surreal to me, even after beating it, since for the past 3 years or so, this has just been an elusive game with cryptic marketing from a very famous game developer that basically had to start from scratch. The marketing of Death Stranding was weird. It had strange imagery, a lot of naked Norman Reedus, and this sense of unknown. You never really knew what was going on, and it's been a while since... Okay, it's been like a year and some change since I've uploaded a video. But with this game, I just had to talk about it. I had to get it out of my chest because it wouldn't leave my head. So I decided to dust off my boots because, honestly, where do I begin?
Once there was an explosion, a bang which gave birth to time and space. Once there was an explosion, a bang which set a planet spinning in that space. Once there was an explosion, a bang which gave rise to life as we know it. And then came the next explosion.
Death Stranding is a post-apocalyptic delivery simulator, where your goal is to rebuild America by forming connections with the isolated dystopian version of the United States. No one goes out of their bunkers and instead live in solitude, relying on porters to bring them packages. I can't really blame them, for the world of Death Stranding is as terrifying as it is beautiful. While the game has supernatural enemies known as the BTs, the real threat is the world around you. Mother Nature is cruel, and in her arsenal are rough rocky areas, steep mountains, and by far the worst contender, timefall. Rain that deteriorates anything it touches, even the human body.
At its core, Death Stranding is an indie game concept with a AAA budget, and what Kojima set out to do, I think he well more than succeeded.
For most of the game loop is traversing harsh environments, delivering packages as you expand the chiral network.
And to me, that loop is just amazing, even if it isn't for a lot of other people.
I read quite a few reviews, both good and bad, since the reviews of this game is more talked about than the game itself. It's a polarizing title for sure, and I could completely understand if you don't like it. I think it's valid to have that opinion, but I also think it's valid to understand that it's okay for a game to not be for you. When it comes to less constructed criticisms of the game, it seems to all bog down to, I didn't have fun so it's bad, or you didn't like it because you couldn't understand it. But it is fun. I had a lot of fun playing this game, to be honest. It challenges you and rewards you greatly for overcoming those challenges. Throughout the game, you'll be making journeys that stretch far, far between figuring out how to get to your destination. It became a puzzle-solving game of finding out what the best route is for you.
The game lets you take your time figuring these things out, and I think it's great because of that. That's how you get your most mileage from this game.
Loneliness and building relationships is well portrayed in this game because when you start off, it's just you, no one else.
Anyone? I'm Sam!
Nice.
But as you progress connecting the country, you'll start to see structures, vehicles, weapons, and tools all left by porters going through the same trials and struggles you are, making things like traversal much easier. Which to me is the biggest draw to Death Stranding, building a tight-knit community with distant and faraway strangers. You'll never meet those other players in your world, but the mark they leave behind will affect everything around you, meaning you can do the same for them. You can contribute little and still provide a giant change to someone's world. A big part of why this gameplay system works so well is because the tools given to you as you progress the story only help you get the job done more efficiently, which means there's no negatives to helping others out. You can't really troll someone in this game, nor do you have many reasons to. If you like taking your time, making slow and deliberate problem-solving choices, while also leaving behind tools for other people's benefit, this game should be right up your alley. I'm strongly reminded of Kenshi whenever I play Death Stranding. Both games have a similar concept, putting you in a destroyed world that you have no control of. And Kenshi was one of my favorite games I played this year. Its harsh and unforgiving narrative really drove me to make something of my character. You're given nothing to survive in that game except the trials and mistakes you grow from as you learn how the game works. And like Death Stranding, mastering the gameplay after a long journey just made that gratification so much better. I felt like I really trekked my way across the United States, meeting people and convincing them to join my cause, keeping them connected and earning their trust as a porter. As for Death Stranding's narrative, at times the story feels like it's trying to find its pace, getting lost in its own creation, especially in the beginning. There's a lot going on in this world and plenty of emails to read and jargon to get used to, but what I enjoyed the most about that is that the game never really forces you to read the flavor text. As the plot starts to narrow itself, the story becomes more focused. Death Stranding's narrative at its best feels somber and even inspiring. While it had many misplaced segments in my opinion, I had a great time learning about how our characters ended up the way they did. They all have some pretty damn good character arcs, especially Cliff and Die Hard Man. Although I don't want to spoil it, all I can say is Die Hard Man's resolve was honestly heartbreaking. Cliff's narrative is usually through the eyes of BB, but when you're finally placed at Cliff's point of view, it's just phenomenal. Even Sam and BB are rewarded with a genuinely great payoff at the end.
Although I love Death Stranding and would honestly love recommending it to everyone, which is why I don't want to spoil much of the experience, this game is a hard sell for people buying it, especially at a full shelf price.
This game is much like an art house film, so as an example I'll use the film Climax that I saw this year. Climax has tied itself with The Lighthouse as being the movie of the year for me. Both of those films not only succeed in immersing you into the story presented, but they also challenge the fuck out of you, making you uncomfortable whenever they possibly can. Both left me fired up after they concluded, inspiring me to pursue my interest in film.
But would I ever recommend those films to my coworkers? No. And that's perfectly okay.
Kojima went out of his way to make a vision in his head come to life without compromise. He wanted to make a game reflective on his view of the internet, how it's connected us but at the same time it's dividing and isolating us.
こういう未来があるかもしれないっていう想定だったんですけど、現実では SNS がもう世界中がつながって。
But in the current digitized world, trivial information is accumulating every second, preserved in all its triteness.
Rumors about petty issues, misinterpretations, slander.
All this junk data, preserved in an unfiltered state, growing at an alarming rate.
It will only slow down social progress, reduce the rate of evolution.
つながりすぎたというか、その距離があまりにも距離感が近すぎて、お互い中傷したり喧嘩し合ったり、あるいはそのマスクをかぶって言いたいことを言ってるっていうか、そこに思いやりが全くなくなってしまったんですね。直接つながることで、本来ならコミュニケーションで一番重要なのはお互いを思いやることだったはずなんですけど、それがテクノロジーが間違った方向に行って破壊してしまったと思うんですよね。で、それを今回間接的につながることでもう一回インターネットで忘れ去られてしまった思いやりというのを、デス・ストランディングで体感してもらって本当のコミュニケーションをもう一度考えましょうというそういう設計のゲームです。
He wanted to make a game that didn't allow player toxicity, instead inspiring us to be more thoughtful of each other, connecting us deeper than any medium has done in a while. Because the only thing against you in Death Stranding are the enemies and environment around you. I feel like this is something you can only really convey in a video game. I've talked about this before with stuff like conventions and even the first 2 months of Pokemon Go on this channel. There's this sense of community in a social environment when we're physically near people with similar interests. At a convention, I never felt like I was being judged for my niche interest. I never cared if someone was cosplaying a character from a series I didn't like. I was just happy to be around people who were just as excited about the things they enjoy as much as I was. Kojima captured that. as well as the other people playing Death Stranding, always letting me know when danger was around, leading me to a path that I wouldn't have used, leaving equipment behind just so I'd be well prepared for whatever I was about to face. I felt connected, wanting to keep on keeping on.
Keep on keeping on. Keep on keeping on. Keep on keeping on. Keep on keeping on.